And apparently I am live. Good evening, folks, and welcome to the Cover One Roundup podcast. As you all can see, I am not joined by my usual co-host Kyle Salagi, as he has a previous engagement to be with members of his family. So it is just me tonight. We're probably not going to run for an hour 15, however long we usually go. We'll try to keep it to a tight 45 if we can. But we're just going to explore what our feelings are about the Bills after this bye week. And we're also going to preview the next upcoming opponent, which is going to be the Green Bay Packers. That's all we're going to do. And it is my obligation, my duty, my honor, if I may, to let you all know that this particular podcast and many podcasts in Cover One are brought to you by Underdog Fantasy. If your one home league in the year is not enough for you, well, you're probably a little bit of a psychopath, but that's okay. Because Cover One is excited to once again partner with the most dynamic name in fantasy football, and that is Underdog Fantasy. They have all the fun of drafting your own players, but without the waivers and lineup decisions. You can have the best ball drafts, which allow you to have all the fun of drafting your team, all the chances to win big with none of the week-to-week hassle. If you use promo code COVER1, that's cover with the number 1, when signing up to make your first deposit, Underdog will match that deposit up to $100. That is $100 free in free play if you use promo code COVER1. Even better, Underdog's Best Ball Mania 3 contest is going to make 3 players millionaires. $10 million in total prizes, $2 million to the first, $1 million to the second, and $1 million bonus to the team with the most regular season points. 3 chances to win at least $1 million. Sign up now using promo code COVER1 and take your chance at $1 million today with Underdog Fantasy. This show is also brought to you by our lovely Cover One Pass. Cover One is a wonderful website that I work for. And one of the things that I love about this is the fact that we offer so much analysis and so much in-depth analysis. And if what you're getting for free with us, which is quite a bit, honestly, is not enough for you, if you want to dive deeper and deeper into the game of football, especially with the Bills, sign up for Cover One Pass. It's a subscription service that'll land you our premium content that you can't get anywhere else for just $57 a year. You'll have access to exclusive articles and content. Just this past week, I believe Eric and Anthony had their first real film session and breakdown, which was really, really cool for Cover One Pass members. You also get access to the Cover One Slack, which is a huge community of Bills fans that are, of course, talking about the Bills. They're talking about life. They're talking about other sports. I mean, it's just a whole great group of people that are talking about a whole bunch of different things in there. And, for something that averages out to under $5 a month, you'll have access to the best analytical Bills content anywhere on the internet. And that, my friends, is a value. That is Cover One Pass, available on cover1.football. Become an insider today. Thank you all. All right, let's see. Who do we got in here? Spin our feelings. I didn't think I was going to watch a therapy session. Listen, I mean, it doesn't need to be a therapy session, right? Because, basically for what he says here, Green Bay fans are the ones who need a therapy session. That's before they realize they have to play the Bills this week. You're not wrong. It has gotten to be pretty bad for the Green Bay Packers right now. But we're not going to quite get into that yet. We're just here to sort of gauge the feelings. Just sort of what our thoughts were coming into the season, where they are now. It's going to be a little loose. If y'all have anything you want to say, any questions, comments, concerns, derogatory remarks, now is your time. I will gladly put them out there for people to see on here. Off topic, Roy Collins says, sucks that Breece Hall tore his ACL. It kind of is, because he was having a great season. He was really the engine that made that Jets offense run and has led to a lot of success in the last couple of weeks. And, you just sort of hate seeing any sort of talented player in his rookie year have to come back from an ACL in his second year. It's pretty tough. Jordan Poyer's driver is back. It's the first time Aaron Rodgers is a double-digit underdog in his career. Yeah, that's pretty brutal. To have to go into Buffalo and then have that attached to your name while you do that. Aaron Hippie started his therapy in his post-game comments. You're also not wrong there. I mean, last week we thought it was bad when he basically said they need to simplify the offense and all that, but yeah, I don't know if they did or didn't, but it certainly didn't help whatever it was. So the Packers have a lot of soul searching. We're not going to get into them just yet, though. We're going to spend a little time. What are everyone's thoughts about the Bills right now? Because for me, right now, I mean, especially after watching yesterday's slate of games while the Bills enjoyed their bye week, I mean, the only team that really seemed to be of any concern to the Bills was the team they beat last week, and that was the Kansas City Chiefs. The Niners put up a pretty solid fight, all things considered. But I mean, this is not the first time that we saw the Chiefs come back from a an early double-digit deficit to then beat that team pretty handily by the end. They did it on Monday night against the Raiders, and yeah, they probably would have done it better against the Raiders had they, not have been the recipient of some pretty poor calls, especially at the end of the half. But the Chiefs also just, I mean, it seems like they're starting to click a little bit better. Um, I think that you could see Juju Smith-Schuster. He had a couple of big plays against the Bills. He had a couple of big plays against the Niners. It seems like he's starting to catch on, sort of find his groove. Marcus Valdez-Scantling is still kind of inconsistent for me. I think that the big thing that I think is really going to continue to hold them back is the fact that they just don't seem to have any sort of consistency in the run game, and that is something that I think they share with the Bills. I think the Bills are a little bit better just because they have better players at the running back position at the moment. I think Devin Singletary is definitely better than Isaiah Pacheco and Clyde Edwards-Helaire, who was just such a roller coaster at this point of his career. But I do think that the Chiefs' offensive line, I mean, when you have like Orlando Brown, you've got Creed Humphrey at center, you've got Trey Smith, who's a great run blocker, Joe Tooney, who they spent a bunch of money on. I mean, this is a team that should really be able to run the ball more effectively than they actually do. And I think at that point, you really start to look at the talent at the running back position. But all that aside, I mean, the Bills are certainly much more complete of a team than pretty much any other team in the NFL, much less the Chiefs. But the Chiefs on offense are, I mean, you can see it at any point. They can just put up 20 points in a single quarter, honestly. Whenever they're able to, when they're on, it is borderline impossible to defend. And that to me was my biggest takeaway from yesterday, was just that, the Bills are the best. And I don't think, other than the Chiefs, that there's anybody even particularly close to them. Let's see what some people have to say. Jordan Poyer's driver. Best team in the NFL. Chiefs are the only competition. Yeah, Bengals maybe. Bengals seem to be starting to figure out what to do offensively, and their defense has actually been pretty solid through the first quarter of the season, which was a bit of a concern coming into last year because they kind of lived on a lot of high variance type of plays, but they seem to be pretty solid throughout this first year. Roy Collins says, I'm hoping that Saffold and Bates step it up a bit. Yeah, I think they've been adequate, but nothing spectacular. I was kind of hoping for a little bit more out of both of them as well. Trade Kumaro to the Packers for a first round pick. Let's see how desperate they are. I'm not opposed to it. I'm sure Gutekunst would like to take a call on some receivers. We'll see. We'll see who buys on that. Pix Mess. I don't know how to say your name. PIXMSG. Definitely the best team in the NFL. It's crazy how many fluke plays took points off the board in a few games and they still managed to win the blowout. Yeah, I mean that's not that far off, honestly. I mean, their only loss was to a Dolphins team and we talked about it on here with Kyle, that there were a lot of strange, unusual circumstances in that Dolphins game, and the fact that they still had a shot at the end to try and win that game is pretty impressive. But between the heat and the lengthy drives for the Bills in the heat, it just created a sort of bad combination that led to injuries, and then it just all sort of fell apart from there. And they were already pretty injured coming into that game. So it is interesting, right? And Jacob, oh gosh, that is a Buffalo name if I've ever seen one. I'm sorry, I'm not sure how to pronounce that. Shaletsky. Let's go with that. I'm hoping for more Shakir involvement going forward in the season. He has shown he has tons of talent, so let's get him reps so he is peak form for the playoffs. I agree. There's. It seems like whenever Shakir's number has been called on as a pass catcher, he's been really solid and really good. He just looks like he knows where he's supposed to be and doing what he's supposed to be doing. As a run blocker, he struggles, and part of that, you know what, I'm not real sure what contributes to that, but I also don't know how much better or worse Isaiah McKenzie is as a blocker given his size. So I don't know if we're necessarily looking at a big drop off if you switch from Shakir to McKenzie in terms of run blocking. But regardless, I think Shakir has certainly earned a lot more playing time, as Spin puts it very eloquently. Shakir is a blocker. He is putrid. Yeah, you're not wrong. He's definitely struggled a lot as a blocker so far in his rookie year. I'm not 100% sure what that issue is. It doesn't seem to be a lack of effort. I don't really get what the issue is, but hopefully they can find ways to just work around that. Because I think that he does have a lot of ability in the pass catching game. Ralph Wilson Sr., thank you for your service. I used to worry when Bills were favored. Now I just laugh. You know what? And isn't that the best part of being a fan of a good team now? We're so some people I think are still used to being in that sort of drought era mentality where it's like, oh, they're favored. This is going to be the year, the week that they get let down. They're going to do this, it's that, blah, blah, blah. Now it's just like, yeah, they should be favored. They should be 10-point favorites against Aaron Rodgers and the Packers because the Packers just kind of suck. And I guess now we're going to move it to the Packers. It's really not a whole lot. There really isn't a whole lot to say about the Bills. They're 5-1. Clearly, to me, the best team in the NFL, one of the best rosters in the NFL. It seems like they're only going to get healthier. I am intrigued on where or when we're going to see Trey White come back. I haven't necessarily seen any news about that recently. I imagine there's going to be more questions now that there's a game upcoming, and his return window from the pup list is soon closing. So we are going to. That's going to be one of the main storylines that I'm going to look for in the coming weeks. Justin Calhoun again, back to Shakir. I would love to see more of Shakir, more of McKenzie back into his old role. I am a little surprised they haven't used McKenzie more in that sort of. I don't want to say gadget role because that's not really what he was. I mean, it wasn't. But we haven't seen a whole lot of jet sweeps with McKenzie. We haven't seen a whole lot of that McKenzie sort of just motion across or even arc motion around the formation. I am kind of curious as to what the what that will be for the rest of the season. Steve Noble says, I am very anxious to see what the Bills' plan is developing for Cook the rest of the season. The gauntlet part of the schedule is over, and I expect to see him used a lot more. I'm very interested. I'll leave that comment up. I'm very interested to see what James Cook is going to bring to this offense because it really hasn't been that much. And part of that is because he's had a really rough start, whether it's not seeing a hole in a gap or just not hitting the gap fast enough or, fumbling on his first carry in the NFL. It's been a rough road for James Cook. He obviously had a score late in that Steelers game, which, that game was so far away from the Steelers. I don't want to take too much out of that, but he also didn't necessarily contribute a whole lot against the Chiefs. I am just sort of curious what the plan is because they really obviously want him to be that complementary player to Devin Singletary, who again has had a great start to the season. So I'm very, very curious to see what they're going to be able to do with James Cook, and hopefully he'll be implemented a little bit more and become more comfortable and be more effective as a pass catcher moving forward. I think that's just gonna kind of wrap it up for the Bills talk in terms of how we feel about the Bills. The fun therapy session is over now. We're going to go into the rough therapy session that is talking about the Green Bay Packers because oh my gosh, this team is kind of abysmal right now. It's pretty shocking just how bad the Packers have been this year. I mean, between how poorly the offense has been and the expectations for this defense were pretty high because they have tons of talent, and that to me has been more disappointing because there's been this sort of narrative in the last couple seasons that this is the year the Packers defense is going to take that step forward. They've got this, they got that, blah blah blah, and I've never really bought into that until this year because I mean you look at that roster coming into this year. I mean it was Kenny Clark, who's been one of their best players for the last couple of years. Devontae Wyatt, who was fantastic at Georgia last year. You just assumed he was going to come in and be such an impact player. Rashawn Gary has really developed pretty well for them overall. Preston Smith's been consistent for them. Devondre Campbell was an amazing player for them last year. I mean, an all-pro player for them last year. Quay Walker was a bit of an odd pick, but you figured playing next to Devondre Campbell and in front of a really solid defensive front that would really help him. And then in that secondary, I mean, you have Adrian Amos, who's super consistent, Rasul Douglas, who again played super, super well for them last year, and Jair Alexander is one of the best corners in the NFL. And yet we're sitting here and just wondering what's going on. I mean, they start the season sort of pooping the bed against the Vikings, right? And the following week they play against the Bears, and they seem to kind of start to put a little bit together. They play against the Bucks, who have also been a huge disappointment, barely get away with that game, go back to Green Bay, end up playing against the Patriots, who had to put in Bailey Zappi partway through because Brian Hoyer got an injury, and he was the backup for Mac Jones. They have to go into overtime to beat the Patriots in that game. Then they go into London, lose to the Giants. They go against the Jets in Green Bay, get their absolute tails whipped, and then you just assume again, okay, it's the Packers, right? Or they've got Aaron Rodgers, they've got Aaron Jones, they've got Matt LaFleur, who's been so successful in his first few years. They're going against the Commanders team, which really hasn't been that good, and now they're forced to play Taylor Heineke, and they lose 23-21. And they had a 14-point lead. It was 14-0 pretty early in that game. There's no reason for the Packers to be this bad, and yet here they are after 6 weeks, and they're 3-3. I mean, this is just bad. Actually, hold on, no, I miscounted. 3-4. This is a 3-4 Packers team through the first 7 weeks in the NFL. This is just bad. That offense cannot do anything. Let me just sort of we're doing a little research here. Just yesterday against the Commanders, the only situation and the way that this is broken down is by pass plays, rush plays on early downs and late downs. The only situation in which the Packers had success on EPA per play was on early downs by passing. They have been really bad. They've been bad rushing the ball on early downs. They've been bad on late downs, passing and rushing. I mean, this offense just looks stuck in the mud, and I'm not really sure what the solution is. And part of it seems to be that they don't want to run the ball, but that is the basis of this offense. It seems like they're not committing enough to the run. And yesterday against, again, a pretty bad Commanders team that really had no business being in that game for as long as they were, much less winning it. They seem to be unwilling to run the ball effectively. Now, part of that I think is the fact that David Bakhtiari once again was out, and his health has been such an issue for the Packers this past couple of years. But I mean, one guy does not an offensive line make, even somebody as genuinely great as David Bakhtiari. But I mean, there just seems to be such a lack of commitment to the run game. I mean, just yesterday, Aaron Jones, 8 attempts, 23 yards. AJ Dillon, 4 attempts for 15 yards. Why? When you start the game with a 14-0 lead, am I misremembering that? I mean, we're gonna do a quick look at this. I mean, I don't get why they seem so afraid of committing to the run game. It just doesn't seem to make a lot of sense to me. Uh, you have two really good running backs, and maybe, you know, uh, okay, let's see. So it was 7-3. It was 14-3. It was not 14-0. It was 14-3 in the second quarter. And then it came to 14-10 before halftime. Regardless of that, there's no reason for the Packers to be this bad at running the football, much less to be this unwilling to run the football. Aaron Jones, even if he's not the same player that he has been before, is still an effective runner from what I've seen, and still an effective pass catcher as well. I mean, he made a great play yesterday when Rodgers broke out of the pocket, and he had to find somebody down the field. And of course, Aaron Jones did a great job catching the ball. But AJ Dillon, I mean, this is year 3 of AJ Dillon, and we're kind of waiting for this dude with massive quads and thighs to really become the big bell cow back, and he hasn't really done anything. And I'm not really sure they're even giving him a chance. It doesn't seem like they really want to. This is just, it's so bizarre. And if you look into some of the other analytics, some of the data that we get from SIS Sports Info Solutions, Aaron Rodgers this year, so he has let's see, he has 140 completions on 209 attempts, 226 dropbacks overall. He's on target with 147 of his throws, 163 have been catchable. And there have been issues with drop passes for this Packers team. That's what happens when you get rid of Devontae Adams and you replace him with Romeo Doubs. You also got rid of Marquez Valdes-Scantling, so you don't have the same deep threat that you used to have. Alan Lazard is clearly the only guy that Aaron Rodgers wants to trust, because he's the only one that he really throws to, other than, I guess, Aaron Jones and Robert Tonyan. But, I mean, there's been drops. Romeo Doubs was brutal yesterday for the Packers. I mean, he had a number of drops. He ended the game with no catches and had several opportunities, but just, it's been really, really bad for the Packers passing the ball. And you look at points earned, Aaron Rodgers in the season, he's got 18.65. He has 0.083. It's a per play, points earned per play. Points above average, it's -8, which is pretty bad. I mean, this is just bad across the board. -27.93 EPA on the season. And if you look at the Packers runners, Aaron Jones, he's earned 13.45 points. He's at 0.192 points earned per play, 11.15 points above average. Why is he not getting the ball more? Nothing about this Packers offense is really making a lot of sense. I think something that seems to be sort of flying under the radar for this Packers coming into the season, and even during this whole early part of the season where they've struggled. I mean, they lost Nate Hackett, and say what you will about what Nate Hackett is doing in Denver right now. Maybe it could be considered malpractice, who's to say? But he's still somebody that was on that staff for a while, and somebody that had earned the trust of Matt LaFleur. And losing any sort of offensive brain power on the coaching staff is going to be an issue. But they also lost Luke Getsy, who went to the Bears to be their offensive coordinator. He was the Packers quarterbacks coach. There were a lot of people that thought pretty highly of Luke Getsy. And so you lose quite a bit of just overall brain power out of that room on the offense. And it seems like they don't really know what to do. They just seem stuck in the mud. Everything seems hard for them. They seem like they have 5 or 6 plays that they really feel reliant on. And one of them is slant flat, which is a McCarthy staple from when he was coaching Green Bay. They still have their zone runs. They seem to want to throw deep and have those back shoulder fades that Aaron Rodgers loves to hit. But outside of that, I mean, you throw those fades when you have trust in your receivers, but Aaron Rodgers doesn't have trust in his receivers. I mean, he's still out there hoping Randall Cobb's going to hobble on back onto the field at some point. It feels like it's going from bad to worse for Green Bay. And Aaron Rodgers is trying to, paint this as, this is the best thing that could have happened to us. Nobody's going to give us a chance against the Bills on Sunday night. Yeah. They shouldn't, though, because this is the best team in the NFL, and you look like you can't even run your offense effectively. Just 2 weeks ago, he was saying, we need to simplify things because apparently this receiving group just doesn't know what they're supposed to be doing. Former Bill, Sammy Watkins, is out there. It doesn't look like he knows what he's doing. And this whole offense just looks bad, and it doesn't look like it's going to get any better anytime soon either. It's so bizarre that, they don't even look like they have a floor anymore. It's one thing to lose Devontae Adams and Marquez Valdez-Scantling, and you lose your offensive coordinator and you lose your quarterback's coach. And obviously your ceiling as an offense is going to come down. But when you have a talented quarterback like Aaron Rodgers, who I don't think is even playing poorly, I don't think he's playing at a high level, but I don't think he is playing at such a poor level where, you need to really start considering Jordan Love. I don't think. But after a certain point, I mean, if they keep losing and losing, that's going to be what some fans are going to look for is Jordan Love. And, the Bills have certainly put a number of quarterbacks on notice before. I mean, just this earlier this year with the Titans on Monday night, blew them out of the water so early that they ended up putting Malik Willis in. I mean, in the fourth quarter, it was basically a preseason game. Slight tangent. Jessica asked, did you see that Blackshear got to play this weekend for the Panthers? I did not. But it is no surprise that in a game where Raheem Blackshear plays, Tom Brady lost. So thank you. Shout out to Steve Wilkes and the Panthers. So good for them. Let's see. Yeah, this was the other just shocking stat as Jordan Poyer's driver brings up. Let's hope the Bills defense helps keep the Packers' unsuccessful third down conversion streak going. The Packers against the Commanders had 6 third down opportunities. They did not convert any of them. The Packers converted 0 third down opportunities. They had 1 fourth down opportunity, which they also did not convert on. That's just pathetic. And that's just bad. That's bad football all around. And I talked earlier about this defense not living up to their expectations, but how much of this is really on the defense, which obviously has its issues. They don't necessarily they don't play well against the run. It's kind of by the design of the defense, but they also have enough guys up front where that shouldn't be this big of an issue. And the other part of it is just how much defense can you play effectively when your offense just can't do anything? It's all just gone from bad to worse, and it doesn't look like it's going to get any better against a Bills team that is coming off of a bye. And I don't know what you do if you're the Packers. I mean, if you're a Packers fan, honestly, start praying now because this might end up getting pretty ugly pretty quickly. And I don't really know what to do if you're a Packers fan. This is all just bad. I looked into a little bit, talking about the run game, sort of, how effectively or how often do the Packers run on early downs, and they really don't. They are the 7th highest rated team, or the seventh most frequent team when passing on early downs. The Steelers, Dolphins, Rams, Bills, Bucks, and Chiefs are all ahead. And the Chiefs are ahead of everyone by a solid mile when it comes to passing on early downs. The Packers sit right above the Bengals and right below the Steelers, which is a little surprising. The Steelers should not be passing that much with a rookie quarterback. But the Packers, I don't get why you're not running the ball more effectively. And certainly this offensive line isn't doing what it's supposed to be doing. That's obviously such a critical component of the run game. But you got to at least give your guys some attempts. I mean, guys like Aaron Jones and A.J. Dillon can make plays on their own, even if it's just like barreling forward for 4 yards. I mean, 4 yards is going to keep your offense on schedule more than, Aaron Rodgers throwing to Romeo Doubs just so Doubs can drop the ball. I mean, it just seems like there needs to be a lot of soul searching for this Packers team right now, and doing it against the best team in the NFL is not the time to do it. But that being said, I brought up the Titans game earlier because the Bills just sort of blew them out of the water. But something that I noticed when watching that game initially on that Monday night was that despite the actual output of the running backs on offense for the Titans, which wasn't very much, the Titans' offensive line was getting a lot of push against the Bills' defensive line. Part of that is because they were missing a lot of the interior defensive linemen that night against the Titans. But part of that is because the Titans' offensive line is still pretty good at run blocking. And I think that if there's going to be a vulnerability, I think that you got to at least try to run the ball, try to limit the number of possessions that you give Josh Allen, because this defense, while talented, clearly is not at the level that they want to be. And there's only so much you can do to slow down Josh Allen. Last week we saw what the Chiefs tried to do. They threw a lot of different blitzes at Allen, a lot of different disguised coverages. They tried really, really hard to confuse Allen and the Bills offense, and they did a pretty good job overall. Holding the Bills to 24 points is pretty solid, all things considered. Obviously they get a lot of backlash just because they end up giving up that final touchdown to the Bills in a critical moment. But that's hard to not give up to the Bills just based on how good and talented this offense is. But I just don't know if you're going to see that same type of effort or same level of creativity defensively that you would normally see that you saw last week from Steve Spagnuolo and the Chiefs. They clearly game planned a lot to try and figure out how best to stop Josh Allen. I just don't know if Joe Barry and the Packers defense are really going to do anything vastly different. And if they don't, then that's a problem for them, because there's no one that's really standing out for this Green Bay defense right now. They have some good players. They have some very talented players who have played well for them in this very defense, in the same scheme. But right now, nothing's really clicking for them enough. Nothing is really pushing them over the top. It's not a defense that any team should be really scared of. They're kind of whatever. This is very blah and, listless and limp. And that's sort of also what the Packers offense sort of feels like. But the Packers offense, has an elite player who I think is still talented and can play at a high level, even if he's not at the moment, in Aaron Rodgers. I don't know what to make of this Packers team other than just disappointment and full of issues. And I don't think any of them are going to be solved on Sunday night against the Bills. I don't think you'll find a whole lot of people that are going to be betting against the Bills on Sunday night. I think that, given the fact that they're 10.5-point favorites, you might see some people trying to hit that underdog line. But we'll see how much that actually gets pushed. Yeah, it's just nothing about this game really concerns me, especially with the Bills coming off of a bye. Actually, I am kind of curious, and I'm sure that there's some pretty good stats, but what is Sean McDermott's record after the bye week? Because he is an Andy Reid guy, and Andy Reid has had phenomenal success after the bye week. Let's see. We are going to keep looking. We're still looking, and this is a little unfortunate that's taking this long, and I can't really find a great look at it. But it seems like McDermott has had pretty good success as a coach coming off the bye week, at least from my memory. How five? There we go. Jessica Travis coming in clutch. Thank you. 5-0 after the bye week. Thank you. Appreciate it. And it's been also McDermott is undefeated after bye. Thank you. Appreciate you all coming in clutch. Let's see. How are Green Bay's corners? Green Bay's that is from Roy Collins. They seem like I don't really know what to do with Green Bay's corners. Again, Rasul Douglas was a good player for them last year, who made some great plays for them. Jair Alexander is a very talented and good cornerback for them, but they don't seem to be making a whole lot of plays at the moment. And if you're not playmaking, and this is a season where I think you're seeing a lot of really good cornerback play, guys like Tariq Woolen in Seattle, Sauce Gardner for the Jets. Those are just two rookies. You have Pat Surtain in Denver, who is just having a phenomenal season for them. They're doing so many great things. There's a lot of great corners playing high level football right now. It just doesn't seem like the Packers have any of those corners right now. It's all just average and meh and blah, and I don't really know how you feel confident in this team and what they're able to do on offense or defense. I mean, it's all just not great. Eric Stokes, of course, is the second year corner. That was the other outside corner that I couldn't really remember. But yeah, everything just sort of seems like nothing overly spectacular. There's just nothing coming from this team that stands out. Jack Jones for the Patriots, another guy, and he's a rookie. Again, another rookie. There's a lot of rookie corners. They're playing at a really high level right now. I don't really understand what this team is other than just not good. It's not a good team. It's not a good team. This is I personally cannot fathom a way in which, I mean, there's a way the Bills can lose this game. We saw last year how they lost the Jaguars. The offense didn't show up. The offensive line couldn't do diddly poo. The defense played well against the rookie quarterback, but the offense just could not score points. So there's obviously a scenario in which the Packers win this game. But also, as the Yahoo Joe, y'all need some more like normal names. Just throwing that out there. But even if we drop this game, no biggie. It's an NFC game, and that is true. At a certain point, I don't think the Bills are going to go 16-1. I would love for that to happen, but I don't think it's really going to happen. Whether it's a divisional game or whether it's just some NFC opponent like the Packers, they're certainly at some point. I think they will drop a game, and it's going to be disappointing and frustrating, but also, like, this is still a great team. And as you said there, it's not really a big deal. It's an NFC game, and that's true. All things considered, this is not a game where there's a lot riding on this for the Bills. At least for the Packers, they're kind of just like fighting to find some sort of identity. And it's been pretty bad. Jessica coming in with a great comment. Green Bay is 15th in scoring defense, and they have played a lot of offensively challenged teams. Yesterday they played Taylor Heineke and the Commanders, who just, I mean, this is not a good team. The Commanders were not a good offensive team. It's just been bad. I don't, and I mean, look, in today's NFL, giving up 23 points is not like horrendous or anything, but there's also been a lot less scoring lately in the NFL this year. So I don't know if that's necessarily the right takeaway. But I mean, again, this defense is not anything special, and this offense is struggling so much. I just don't understand where the Packers have an advantage. This really just comes down to the idea that the Bills would have to give away this game, and that's sort of been the thing with the Bills really since last season, is that their biggest opponent, the opponent that they struggle against the most, is really themselves. The only way the Bills lose to a team at this point is if they just beat themselves. Again, that Jaguars game was a perfect example of that. That Colts game a couple weeks later, perfect example of that. The Bucks game where they went down super early and had to try and come back, and almost did come all the way back. They just shot themselves so many times in the foot early on in that Bucks game that it just became so difficult for them to come all the way back by the end of that game. I mean, it's all on the Bills to win this game, as it should be. The Packers are going to fight as much as they can, because at this point every week is going to be difficult for them, just sort of based on how they've played. But this is the only way the Bills lose this game is if they just give it to the Packers. And part of that's going to be, special teams, the offense not doing what they're supposed to be doing. I mean, if special teams just gives up some random big play, or if a punt is blocked or something like that, and then the defense would have to, give up multiple scoring drives against a Packers offense that could barely put anything together against a Commanders team that was like 20 or 22nd in scoring defense. Just bad. Just bad. As Shahol says again, JA17 will be chilling on the sidelines in the fourth quarter. From your lips to God's ears. So I really just don't have any faith in this Packers team. The main thing for the Bills right now is just continue to stack wins and try to stay ahead of the Chiefs. Having that tiebreaker against the Chiefs is super important for that bye as the number one seed. I think that has to be the goal for the Bills this year. They've played enough road games in the playoffs, in my opinion. I mean, the fact that they've only faced the Chiefs in Arrowhead in the playoffs is probably part of the reason why they have lost those games against the Chiefs. Obviously, there's other reasons. But being at home, I mean, the Bills have not had many opportunities to play Patrick Mahomes in Buffalo. I think putting Mahomes in a bit more of a hostile environment, obviously Mahomes is Mahomes. If we're going to say Josh Allen is 1A, then Patrick Mahomes is like 1B, maybe even 1AA. Where I mean, they are the standards in the NFL, or maybe standard is too low of a term. Maybe they're just the impossible standards. They are at the ceiling. But so it's possible where Mahomes is able to overcome any sort of advantage that another team has, because he's that type of player. But you also want to have those advantages as a team playing against Patrick Mahomes. You don't want to give them an opportunity to play at home. If you can play a playoff game in Buffalo and continuing to stack wins in the regular season is a big part of getting that one seed. It's, don't drop a game against Green Bay for no reason. Don't poop your pants on Sunday night for no reason. This is a team that hasn't really had any answers. This isn't a team that seems to be able to develop or find any answers. Now, as Rory Collins says, it is Rodgers and he can have a great game at any moment. I agree with that, but where is that game going to come from? Is that coming from Alan Lazard? I mean, is it coming from Sammy Watkins in his return to Buffalo? Is this Sammy Watkins' first game back in Buffalo since he left? Probably is, right? Did he play? He played for. Did he play for Baltimore? He's played for so many teams and he's been irrelevant on pretty much all of them. So, I would assume this is his first game back with the against the Bills in Buffalo. But regardless of that, yeah, I don't really see a place or a way that the Packers really overcome and attack the Bills in a major way. COVID year, he was on the Chiefs. Yeah, he was. I don't know if he played in that game though. If he did play in that game, I don't recall him playing in that game, and well, that's kind of all that matters, and that kind of says everything about Sammy Watkins. Yeah, Sammy has been on IR for every team he's played for. Yeah, pretty much, and that says it all about. Oh no, actually, this says it all about Sammy Watkins. His best season was with Kyle Orton. Accurate. That's yeah. So yeah, the long and short of it is this should be another win for the Bills coming off the bye week. McDermott is undefeated as we saw coming off of the bye week. Green Bay is 3-4 and they don't look like they have any answers. And where's the weakness for this Bills team right now? And with Trey White coming in, coming back sometime soon, this team's only going to get better. Do we want to do? Let's do a very quick truth or rubbish because I know you all love that, and I kind of love it too. I will be 100% improvising truth or rubbish right now. So let's do it right now.
Let's see if it's truth or rubbish. Let's go.
Go. All right. So the NFL trade deadline is going to be coming up soon. To those of you in the chat, true or rubbish, do you think the Bills are going to make a move with another team at the trade deadline? Me personally, I am probably going to say
rubbish. All after all, it was all rubbish.
I think that Brandon Beane. Oh my gosh, I put that on loop. That's my bad. I do think that Brandon Beane has been making calls. We saw that they made a call about Christian McCaffrey to the Panthers. The Bills are kind of always in on these sorts of things where they always want to look into just what the cost is. They're doing their due diligence. They want to see, what exactly something is going to cost, what the actual timeline is, what they feel. It's Brandon Beane just doing what he does and, asking those sorts of questions when you have as many connections around the league as Brandon Beane does. There's nothing wrong with just gauging the price and seeing what somebody is willing to give up and what you're willing to give up. And I'm sure that the price that the Panthers ended up getting from the 49ers for Christian McCaffrey was way, way, way too much for Brandon Beane's taste, and I do not blame him. As we have said in this chat and throughout the podcast, true or rubbish, the Bills will cover their 10.5 point spread against Green Bay on Sunday night. It's very difficult for NFL teams to get double-digit spreads. It's also because it's hard to win by double digits in the NFL. That all being said,
this was true. All after all, can't believe it. It was true.
I do think this is true. This Packers team is just bad right now, and they just struggle to put up points. They struggle to stop teams from putting up points. Kind of just seems like this is it for them. This is just kind of who they are, and a double-digit spread, I don't think is anything that the Bills can't put up. I think that this is a pretty easy win, and it would not surprise me if this is sort of akin to what we saw against the Titans on Monday Night Football in Week 2, where this is a little close early on, but ultimately the Bills just pull further and further away. And by, some point in the third quarter or fourth quarter, Josh Allen's out on the bench and we get to see more Case Keenum, just like we always do. We're getting a question from the chat. J-Ho, truth or rubbish, Collinsworth will praise Rodgers while he struggles while giving Josh Allen modest props. You know what? I'm calling this. I will be calling this
This
true.
was true. All after all. Can believe it. It was true.
Chris Collinsworth
This
is
was
a little
true.
insufferable,
All
isn't
after
he?
all.
Oh my
Can
gosh.
believe it.
Back with the loop. That's my fault again. Take that loop off, David. You know better. But yeah, it's I can't see. Chris Collinsworth really is insufferable as an announcer, isn't he? And he really likes the people that he likes, and he's not always willing to prop up people that he's a little doubtful of, or he'll kind of find he likes to nag players that he's not super confident in, but whatever. All right, that's T Dobbs says Collinsworth was a much better player than a sports analyst. Probably not wrong there. Also, don't ever look up the type of girl that Chris Collinsworth is interested in. Anyway, on that note, let's let's end this podcast. Thank you all for coming out. I understand this is shorter than usual. It's a little difficult to go for a full hour and 15 without my usual cohort, Kyle. He will be back with us next week. Hopefully after yet another Bills victory. I want to thank everyone for tuning in. We are always happy to have you here on the Cover One Roundup podcast. We're always, looking to Cover One Pass. It's a great place to get more of the content that we are able to write and produce. Like I said, Eric and Anthony put out a great film session on Sunday for Cover One Pass members. Totally worth it. Again, it's $57 for the year, less than $5 a month. It's absolutely totally worth it. I promise you guys. We have some great people that work here at Cover One. You all know that. Check out Underdog Fantasy, our big sponsor for this show, and they sponsor a number of our other shows here on Cover One. Who is Kyle? That's a great question, Spin. We will investigate that and get back to you next week, hopefully. But Underdog Fantasy, great sponsor. Go check them out. Again, that's the promo code cover number 1. Some of you guys have really taken advantage of that, and we really appreciate you guys using that. Really helps us out here on the channel. On your way out, leave a like, leave a comment, share this video if you want. This is all great stuff. Leave a 5-star review wherever you download your podcasts on, Spreaker, iTunes, Spotify, wherever. We really appreciate all the support that you get. You can find me on the old tweet machine at DFoxy, at TFAUXY. You can find a whole bunch of very lukewarm and semi-informed takes on Twitter. Thank you all for joining. We will see you all next week. Bye-bye.